Welcome back, everyone, to the Deep Dive. Today we're diving into the VRIO framework. You sent over some really fascinating academic excerpts on VRIO. So we're going to get into the nitty-gritty of how companies can use it to analyze their resources and, gain an advantage over the competition.
Yeah, and what I think is so fascinating about this framework is that it builds upon the idea of the resource-based view, which is really the idea that a company's success hinges on its unique internal strengths.
Oh, that's interesting.
Kind of like how you, as an individual, your own unique skills and talents can make you stand out from the crowd.
Yeah, that's a great point. So it's all about figuring out what makes a company special, right? What resources do they have that give them an edge?
Exactly. And these resources can be, they can be tangible things like factories and equipment, or they can be intangible things like a really strong brand reputation or patents, or even human resources, the talented people who make everything happen.
Yeah, I'm with you so far. Yeah. So if the resource-based view is the foundation, then VRIO is the tool that helps us analyze those resources and see if they actually have the potential to create that lasting competitive advantage that we're all looking for.
Precisely. You can think of VRIO as like a filter. It's going to guide us through a series of questions to really assess the true value of a company's resources.
And each letter in VRIO stands for a different element of that analysis, right? So let's start with V. What does V represent?
V stands for value. And it's really the most basic question we can ask. Does this resource actually help the company exploit opportunities or, mitigate threats in the market? Does it truly add value?
So, for example, like a pharmaceutical company that has a really unique drug formula, that's valuable because it addresses a critical health issue. It meets a real need in the market.
That's a great example. That drug formula is valuable because it directly contributes to the company's success. But value alone isn't enough. What truly sets a resource apart is its rarity.
Okay, so that's where R comes in, rare. And it's all about scarcity, right? If a company has something that's hard to come by, that gives them an advantage.
Exactly. Think about a tech company that's developed, like proprietary AI algorithms that nobody else has. So that rarity immediately puts them in a really powerful position.
That makes sense. But even if something is valuable and rare, couldn't competitors just try to copy it?
That's where I comes in. I stands for imitability. How difficult is it for competitors to replicate that valuable and rare resource?
So something like Coca-Cola's secret formula. It's valuable, it's rare, and it's virtually impossible to imitate.
Exactly. High imitability can erode a company's advantage. You think about a trendy fashion item. Might be popular for a season, but fast fashion retailers can quickly replicate it, and it diminishes its uniqueness.
Right. Great point. So we've got value, rarity, and imitability. What about the O?
O stands for organization, and it's about whether the company is structured and managed in a way that allows them to effectively leverage this valuable, rare, and hard-to-copy resource.
So it's not enough to just have something special. You have to know how to use it to your advantage. It's like having a high-performance sports car. If you don't know how to drive it, it's not going to do you any good.
Precisely. A great example is Amazon's logistics system. They've built this incredibly organized and efficient network that allows them to really leverage their massive online platform and deliver products quickly and reliably.
So VRIO helps us understand how all these different elements work together to determine a company's potential for success. But how does all of this translate into actual competitive advantage in the marketplace?
That's where the real insights emerge. VRIO helps us understand the different levels of competitive advantage that a company can achieve. And it's not just about being better than the competition. There are nuances to consider.
Okay, I'm intrigued. What are these different levels of competitive advantage?
It's helpful to think of it kind of like as a spectrum. At one end, you have a competitive disadvantage, which is when a resource is not valuable and may even hinder the company. Think about outdated IT systems that are costly to maintain and don't provide any real benefit.
Ouch. Not a good place to be. So what's the next step up from that?
The next level is competitive parity. This is where the resource is valuable. But it's not rare or difficult to imitate. It's like offering standard customer service. Everyone's doing it. So it doesn't give any particular company a special advantage.
That's like the bare minimum to stay in the game. But it doesn't really help you win. So what about the next level up from that?
That's where things start to get interesting. This is what we call temporary competitive advantage. A company might have something valuable and rare, which gives them an edge, but it's only a matter of time before competitors catch up.
So like a company that's first to market with a new technology, they've got a window of opportunity. but others will soon figure it out.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then finally, at the top of the spectrum, we have the holy grail, sustained competitive advantage. This is where a company possesses a resource that is valuable, rare, difficult to imitate, and they are organized to exploit it effectively.
That sounds incredibly powerful.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any examples of companies that have achieved this elusive, sustained advantage?
Absolutely. The research that you sent over highlights Tesla and Google as prime examples. Both companies have really masterfully leveraged their resources to build lasting success.
Okay, I'm ready to dive into those examples. Let's see how VRIO explains their phenomenal success.
All right, so let's break down how VRIO plays out in the real world with companies like Tesla and Google. Starting with Tesla, I think everyone would agree that their electric vehicles are valuable, especially with, the rising demand for sustainable transportation. But what makes their resources stand out in terms of the VRIO framework? Yeah, their electric vehicles are definitely valuable, but it goes deeper than that. Tesla's advanced battery technology is a major differentiator. It gives them a significant advantage in terms of range and performance. And crucially, developing that technology, it wasn't easy. It required massive investments in research and development, making it really difficult for competitors to imitate quickly.
So they've nailed the R and the I. But what about the O organization? Do they have the structure in place to actually, make the most of these advantages?
Well, Tesla is also recognized for its efficient production systems and a really strong brand image, both of which are crucial for maximizing the value of their technology. They've cultivated a loyal customer base that's passionate about the Tesla experience, and that's a powerful asset in itself.
You're right. It's definitely more than just the car itself. It's the whole package.
Yeah.
Okay, so Tesla seems to be ticking all the VRIO boxes. What about Google? How does VRIO shed light on their long-standing dominance?
Google's success is a classic example of VRIO in action. Their search algorithms are incredibly valuable. They deliver relevant search results so quickly and efficiently, something that we all rely on every day. But the real game changer is the massive amount of data that they've accumulated over the years.
Yeah, it must be an incredible amount of information.
It's a treasure trove of data, and it gives them unparalleled insights into user behavior and preferences. That data is a rare resource, and not just because of its sheer size, but because of Google's ability to analyze it and continually use it to improve their products. That's where their organizational capabilities really stand out.
So it's not just about having the data, it's about knowing how to use it effectively.
Exactly. They've also fostered a company culture that prioritizes innovation, encourages employees to think outside the box and constantly push the boundaries. All of these factors make Google incredibly difficult to compete with.
It sounds like they've built an incredibly strong foundation for sustained competitive advantage. Now, earlier we mentioned that. VRIO can be a really valuable tool, but it's not without its limitations. The source material that you sent over touched on some criticisms of VRIO, and one point that stood out to me was the idea that, VRIO can be a bit subjective. How so?
That's a great point, and it's always important to be critical of any analytical framework when using VRIO. Determining whether a resource is truly rare or difficult to imitate can be open to interpretation. There aren't always clear-cut benchmarks, and what might be considered rare today could easily become commonplace tomorrow as technologies evolve and markets shift.
So it's important to see VRIO as a starting point for analysis, not necessarily like the ultimate answer. And it's crucial to consider the broader context and recognize that the business landscape is constantly changing.
Absolutely. VRIO provides a snapshot in time, not a prediction of the future. And another limitation to keep in mind is that VRIO really emphasizes internal resources. And that can sometimes cause companies to overlook external factors that could significantly impact their competitive landscape.
That's true. For example, a company could have the most valuable and unique resources, but a sudden shift in consumer demand or, a disruptive new technology could completely change the game.
Exactly. Companies need to find a balance between leveraging their internal strengths and being adaptable to a constantly evolving marketplace.
This has been a really insightful discussion so far. We've covered the core components of VRIO, we've examined how it plays out in the real world with companies like Tesla and Google, and we've even touched on some of the limitations of the framework.
And if we connect VRIO to the broader context of business strategy, it's interesting to consider how it relates to other analytical tools, such as SWOT analysis.
Ah, yes. Strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. How does VRIO fit into that framework?
Well, VRIO can be really helpful when identifying the internal strengths that form the foundation of a company's competitive advantage. By analyzing the V, the R, the I, and the O of a company's resources, you can gain a deeper understanding of how those strengths contribute to their overall position in the market.
So VRIO isn't a standalone tool. It's part of a bigger picture. It's a way to understand the complexities of competitive dynamics.
Exactly. It helps to connect the dots between a company's resources, capabilities,
Yeah.
and its potential for success. And one of the most interesting applications of VRIO is how it can be used to analyze not just entire companies, but also individual products or services.
Now that you mention it, I was curious about that. The source material mentioned. Applying VRO at a more granular level, could you elaborate on that a little bit?
Absolutely. So instead of looking at all of Tesla's resources, we could zoom in on, for example, their self-driving technology. We'd ask the same VRIO questions. Is this technology valuable to customers? Is it rare? Do other car companies have self-driving systems that are just as good? How difficult is it for competitors to replicate? And is Tesla effectively organized to leverage this technology?
That's like a VRIO checklist for product development.
Yeah.
It makes you think critically about what makes a product truly unique and how to create a sustainable advantage around it.
Precisely. And applying VRIO at this level can be incredibly valuable. For entrepreneurs and innovators, it forces you to think strategically about your offerings and how they stack up against the competition.
So even if you're not running a massive company, like a Tesla or a Google, VRIO can still be an incredibly valuable tool for anyone who's trying to innovate and make their mark.
Exactly. And that brings us to a key takeaway from this deep dive. VRIO is not just for academics or executives. It's a framework that can be applied across various levels of business and innovation, helping us to understand the dynamics of competition and the factors that drive long-term success.
I love that. VRIO is for everyone, whether you're analyzing a global corporation or brainstorming a new business idea. It can help you ask the right questions and make more informed strategic decisions.
Yeah, it really is amazing how VRIO can be applied in so many different ways, from analyzing entire companies to individual products. Really highlights how versatile and powerful this framework can be.
It's really all about understanding those fundamental principles of value, rarity, imitability, and organization, and seeing how those elements play out in different contexts. It's a way of thinking strategically about resources and competition, regardless of the scale. You know, as we've been discussing VRIO, I keep thinking back to something you mentioned earlier, but how important it is to consider the external factors that can impact a company's competitive landscape. It seems like even if a company has aced the VRIO test and has this seemingly unassailable advantage, there's always the possibility of disruption.
Right. That's a crucial point. And it really underscores the dynamic nature of the business world. A company can't just rest on its laurels, even if it has a strong VRIO position. I mean, think about companies like Kodak or Blockbuster. They once dominated their industries, but they failed to adapt to technological advancements and changing consumer preferences.
It's a stark reminder that no competitive advantage is truly invulnerable. Companies need to be constantly scanning the horizon, anticipating those changes, and being willing to adapt their strategies and even their core offerings.
Exactly. It's about being both, internally strong and externally aware. A company needs to understand its own strengths and weaknesses, while also staying attuned to the broader trends and shifts that could impact its future.
So VRIO is not just a static analysis. It's an ongoing process of
evaluation, adaptation, and strategic decision-making. It's about staying ahead of the curve.
Precisely. And it highlights the importance of continuous learning and innovation. Companies need to be willing to invest in research and development, explore new ideas, and even be willing to disrupt themselves before someone else does.
Well, this deep dive has been incredibly enlightening. We've delved into the core principles of VRIO. We've explored its real-world applications. We've examined its limitations. And we've even discussed how it fits into that larger context of strategic thinking and adaptation.
It's been a fascinating journey through the world of VRIO, and it really underscores the importance of understanding the dynamics of competition and the factors that drive sustainable success in business.
I couldn't agree more. And a huge thank you to you, our listener, for providing such thought-provoking source material. It's been a pleasure exploring these ideas with you.
The pleasure was all mine. And to all our listeners out there, keep those thinking caps on. Keep exploring, keep learning. And we'll catch you on the next deep dive.